Number 5, public key cryptography. So public key cryptography is a mind bender because you have a private key and a public key. And just because you have the public key doesn't mean you can decode what the private key says. And quite frankly, it all gives me a headache. But that headache is not a new one. Public key cryptography has been giving people headaches since 1976 with Whitfield Diffie and Martin Hellman introduced a two-key cryptographic system in their landmark paper, New Directions for Cryptography. They proposed that one key could be made public for encryption, while a separate private key kept the secret for decryption. So you can encrypt publicly, but you can only decrypt privately. That's what gives people a headache.
So the cryptography group, everybody that had been involved in cryptography this time must have thought this was black magic, because the way everything worked before was basically some variant of a Dick Tracy decoder ring, where you had one setting where you like sometimes physically twist a wheel and everything would spin one way or the other, right? Whether it was Enigma or whatever it was from World War II or whatever, the technology was basically the same across all of them. This was black magic.
And the thing is, in 1977, shortly after this paper was published, Ravish, Shamir, and Adelman, RSA, you recognize that one? Yeah. Came together and created the first practical public key encryption algorithm. Diffie-Hellman key exchange and RSA became the foundations of PKC, privately and publicly keyed cryptography. When did it become mainstream? Came mainstream in the 90s. Why? One, we had a use for it. Right, we now have this web thing coming up, and Netscape came up in 95 with the concept of the SSL protocol using RSA to exchange keys, and that has since migrated on to more sophisticated TSA, transport secure. Also, something called PGP, pretty good privacy, came out, and that was open source. It brought public key encryption to email.
That was also very controversial, and that goes back to other conversations we've had about different laws in foreign countries and encryption. The gentleman that invented PGP, he got in some hot water for doing that and releasing.
Oh, big time.
Right?
Yes, he did. And there was a huge amount of issues over that. And so if you look at the time gap, it took about 18 to 20 years. So it was a mid-70s ideas to a mid-90s ubiquity. And I think there were huge legal barriers too. Strong encryption was classified as a munition in the US, and it still is in some cases.
There's lots of encryption technology that you can't export to certain countries.